So hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome to, remarkably, sunny Scotland. Now, I'm not sure if you guys watched the video where we were at Donington documenting some of the most incredible gatherings of hypercars that I've ever seen during my time pointing cameras at cars. But at the end of that, we loaded a few of the cars onto a transporter and ultimately ended up sending them to Scotland. You see, my partner in the production bunker has a place up here in Scotland, and I don't know whether it was sixth sense or just luck, but we thought, you know what, why don't we try our luck, send the cars up there and go and find some great driving roads. Today we're kickstarting things in front of Doon Castle up here in Scotland, and I thought we'd kick things off with the Turbo S because it's been introduced to the channel. We've done the walk and talk of the spec, and then the first drive was taking it up to 211 miles an hour at a VMAX event a couple of weeks ago. But here we are up in Scotland in front of a castle. It doesn't get much more iconic Scottish than this, and the idea of today is to go out and try and find some great driving roads, scout some locations, and just generally immerse you in finally what it's like to drive this car where it was designed to be driven on some fantastic driving roads. But as a quick overview for anyone tuning in right now, the car is gentian blue. It's a 2020 911 Turbo S. We've got the carbon ceramic brakes. These are 10 piston calipers. We went for the optional sports exhaust upgrade. This sounds great even for a heavily turbocharged car, but interestingly, as you'll find out in a minute, Porsche did a great job of actually engineering the sound on the inside. The car was also spec'd with the optional light upgrade. Now this has a light bar which spans the entire width of the car here, but the upgrade is this black pack insert and surround here, which just gives it a more sort of stealthy look and feel. Really subtle details which are hard to pick up if I don't zoom in and point them out to you is there's actually gentian blue inserts, body coloured painted slats on here. This was an optional extra. It's subtle, something you probably don't see unless you get up close on it, but it's the sum of its parts, isn't it, that makes these things special. Now the alloy setup on a Turbo S is actually staggered, meaning it's 20-inch at the front and 21-inch at the rear. And they are substantially large 315 section tyres. In a minute we'll demonstrate the traction that this package develops, particularly as a four-wheel drive car. Also, one great design I like, and again, it's not until you get up close to it that you see just how deep and embossed the Porsche logo sits now on the back of the car. It just adds so much depth to the rear of Turbo S. In fact, the rear of the Turbo S is probably my favorite angle of all. It just looks fantastic, and it's really important to get the full effect with the wing up, of course. Now, it's actually quite nice that we're back up here in Scotland because I did buy the Porsche from Porsche Centre Perth, which actually isn't too far away from here. So it's quite funny, despite the fact that we bought it from up here, I actually haven't spent any time driving it in Scotland at all, but we're going to correct that today. And while we're around the front, check out this. This is a retractable and extendable aero feature on the car. When it goes into sports mode, ground clearance is dropped, and this sort of adaptable front splitter here comes in and out. And then we've got the radar and cruise control feature on the center there, which looks pretty cool. And then in here, you actually can't see it now, but these open and close depending on if you're looking to reduce drag or increase airflow to the radiators. Pretty cool trick. All right, inside of the car, this is probably the most sort of niche spec that I've seen so far. From the outside, and in this light, it might not be obvious, but the interior of this is actually a deep navy blue. Check it out. I'm not sure if the camera will do it justice. This is navy. It's not black, it's not grey. It is a navy leather with a crayon contrast stitch. So that's not a white contrast stitch, it's actually a sort of silvery grey. I went for this crayon stitch to match the GT3, of which, if you joined this channel just now, I shall introduce you to while we're up in Scotland shortly. But we just haven't gone for a proper drive in this car yet, so we thought priority number one, go and find out and share the dynamics of this car with you while we're doing the preliminary sort of route plan, really. Spoiler up. Gotta have the spoiler up. There's something about the aesthetic of this car. When the spoiler's down, kind of reminds me of a Carrera with a bit of a ducktail on it. When the wing's up, now we're in turbo territory. Speaking of turbo territory, I just made my way to the perimeter road that skirts Loch and oh my god, is it absolutely gorgeous. 2020 kind of sucks. There was road trips planned. There was so many activities lined up at the end of 2019 to share with you in 2020. Many of those things being road trips. And unfortunately, because the year turned out to be unexpected, to say the least, we just haven't had the opportunity to stretch the legs of any cars properly at all. I haven't driven on the continent this year at all, and that's obviously such a big part of these cars, getting out and using them. And to be honest, as cliche as it sounds, to get out on the open road, it just frees up the soul. And also, we're up here in Scotland in November, the sun is shining, the leaves on the trees, we are deep, perfect autumnal shades of awesomeness, and here we are in the cold air, feeding this turbo. Finally being able to exploit this thing on some phenomenal driving roads. That's actually the purpose of today, while I'm out here enjoying this car. The reason that I'm also out and about is scouting for some fantastic roads with great backdrops, great scenery for filming over the coming weeks and months. Now let's talk turbo. Despite the fact that the weather is awesome, it's still November and it's still Scotland, and therefore the roads are damp. In parts there is debris of fallen leaves, which can get a little bit dicey at times. Turbo traction, this four-wheel drive system. I mean, Porsche have worked some miraculous witchcraft with this thing. The traction that you get, even in the damp, there are some sections when you're reading the road after the apex, try and experiment with just how much available traction there is. Out of some corners in second gear on a damp road, not even the slightest hint of traction control light on the dash. I don't know how it does it. For example, just out of here, second gear. I mean, halfway through that, it's actually wet. Wet! Never mind damp, we've just deployed all 650 horsepower and savage amounts of torque. I think the number one word for the Porsche Turbo, funnily enough, isn't fast. It's confidence. And I think through confidence comes speed, because you just have so much trust in its ability to put all of that power down. Up here it looks outstanding. Also, something about Scotland, it doesn't matter how good your car looks elsewhere, bring it to the Scottish mountains, it looks better. The way that it reflects off the colour of the trees and bounces off the water, it's just, the whole thing just makes the sculpture of the car up here look fantastic, particularly with this winter sun. One thing that I really like in the 991 generation of Porsche, and I think that followed on actually from 997, was the origami style cup holders. These are some of the best cup holders in the game. These have changed a little bit since 991, which sort of folded out sideways from central console here. But in 991, both driver and passenger had one similar to this. But in 992 gen, for some reason it's gone from here and it has been moved down to here, which is conveniently optimized for the shape of a Red Bull can. But if I just move that out of the way, you can see that these veins here, they sort of adapt like spider's legs to the side of cup you've got in. I know it's a bit of an odd topic, cup holders, but you know, they are real and they've always been the best in Porsches. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that we've got the TDF with us as well. We're probably going to use this as a tracking car today, but rest assured there will be dedicated TDF content coming soon. But just how good does that look? It's really rare that I get to follow my own car, and when you're at seating level from another car, the perspective of it looks so mean on the road. Just look at the squat on it, looks fantastic. Okay, so this time of year the clocks have gone back in the UK, which means the light available for filming gets shorter and shorter the deeper we go into winter. However, having scouted some pretty sensational driving roads, I'm now going to up my camera game. We're going to head and buy the new GoPro Hero 9. I'm hearing good things. What I would like to try is being able to film in 4K linear angle lens to be able to crop right in for when we're doing some interesting tracking shots. So what we're effectively doing is going on a shopping trip to PC World with the Turbo S and the TDF. Should be quite the contrast in the car park. Look at the sky. Scotland is the gift that keeps on giving. It is beauty around every corner. So because this is the first time that I've ever followed the TDF myself, it's remarkable to see the kind of attention it gets on the road. There's people pointing and looking and even shouting Ferrari when they see it, which is amazing. Really, when you're driving it, you don't actually see that, but to witness it from behind it in the turbo, it's incredible. Wow, look at that up there. I don't know what that is, but it is straight out of Lord of the Rings. What is that, a tower, a monument? It's stunning. Anyone know? Comments below. Check this, I still have my Maserati face mask for when I presented the launch of the MC20. Pretty handy, I've had it since then. Washable, don't have to throw it away. Ideal. Anyway, let's go check out if they got any Hero 9s in. Check this out. Completely sold out. Never mind. Well, that was disappointing. Amazon Prime it is. Honestly, stop-start functionality is possibly one of the most annoying features on modern cars. Just because you're in traffic, it'll just cut you out. Even more annoying when you're at a roundabout and you're just about to eke out of it and it cuts you. Not ideal. Anyway, not one to complain. The light is drawing to a close very quickly, which means we're running out of time to complete the video. So, fantastic time scouting the initial roads in Scotland. I mean, we are just scratching the surface, that's an understatement. But we're up here for some weeks, and we've got some great cars, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So, I'm gonna go and order a Hero 9 from Amazon, and hopefully it'll arrive in a few days, and then we can immerse you even further in some 4K goodness. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Ciao!